Welcome to the Pocatello Business Podcast, the only Pocatello podcast focused on providing profits for Pocatello people. If you love our town and love small business, you are in the right place. We interview local legends, learn business, and have way too much fun doing it. You're listening to the Pocatello Business Podcast with your friend, host, all-around great guy, and owner of New Clean Commercial Cleaning, Spencer Ward.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Pocatello Business Podcast. I am here with the one and only Dallen Lambson. How you doing, Dallen?
Woohoo! I like the intro. I'm doing well. Thank you very much. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. I'm not done with your intro, though, so stand by for a minute.
Oh, I could have lived with that. I thought that was just fine.
I got to brag about you a little bit. That's what everyone gets.
All right.
I got to roll out that red carpet. So, Dallen Lambson, were you born and raised in Pocatello?
Yeah.
Okay, Pocatello man, Pocatello boy. Highland or Pocatello High?
Highland.
Highland grad. Went on to ISU, went into business management, art, and art at the same time. Was it a art minor or just art in the
So
sun?
I did a couple years at Rick's College back when it was Rick's College.
Okay.
And again, it was still a business program that I was involved in, but I actually took some art classes on the side.
Okay.
I never declared it. It was never a formal part of my education, so to speak. But I did take some classes up there from Leon Parson and some other really talented artists and teachers up there.
Okay. And now, after ISU, he's been a professional artist at this point. He owns Lambson Wildlife Art here in Pocatello. Did I get anything wrong, Dallen?
I think that sums it up pretty well.
Did I leave anything out that I shouldn't, that I overlooked?
No, I really am that boring.
No.
I think you covered the bases pretty well.
They're going to see that you're not boring after we're done here. They're going to see you're pretty cool here. So, all right. Well, Dallen, we like to start off to asking our guests, tell us a little bit about your family, your hobbies, what you like to do here when you're not working.
Let's see. So, I guess I'll back up just a little bit. I grew up in a family of 8 kids.
Okay.
I had 7 siblings. There were 4 boys and 4 girls. And probably say as much somewhere in the bio, but I stand by this. I really liked growing up in a big family. You always had somebody to hang out with, somebody that you could beat up on. There was always somebody there, either that next person older than you or that next person younger than you, and unless you were the oldest or the youngest. And I had just what I consider, in looking back, I feel like I had a real kind of fairy tale childhood growing up. Awesome parents who loved me, loved each other, raised us pretty well. The rest of my brothers and sisters turned out pretty good. And I just remember road trips and camping trips. My dad is very well respected, and I don't mind bragging on him here a little bit.
Yes, we got to bring him up.
Very, very renowned wildlife artist.
Yep.
And as I was a kid growing up, I was just utterly fascinated by what he was doing in the studio. He had taken our garage, and he's got some handyman skills, and he converted that garage into a really cozy and accommodating studio. And so it was just a hop, skip, and a jump for me to end up in the studio, and I'd sit there and just watch him paint or watch him draw, and for hours. I just loved being involved in that creative process, or at least watching that creative process. And so that kind of turned into, at least for me, kind of a love affair with art. My dad was a very outdoorsy kind of guy. He loved to hunt and fish like his dad and his dad's dad before him, and something of a legacy in my family. And so got a lot of exposure to the outdoors, to wildlife, and really gained a lot of respect and a love for nature.
That's awesome.
For all things wild out there. And so that was kind of my upbringing. That became kind of the springboard, the catalyst that kind of got me to where I am now. Obviously, did a little education, did a mission for my church, came home. One day went to church and met this gorgeous blonde-haired girl that would later become my wife, Mallory. Between us, we have 6 kids, 3 boys and 3 girls. And it's a party at our house. Our oldest, Dax, he's 15. He'll be 16 here in a month or 2.
Wow.
And on down to our youngest, who is 4. She's an adorable little monster. and all kinds of fun ages in between there. So
very cool. Very cool. So everyone, Dallen's being modest a little bit too. His father Hayden is renowned as artist, but Dallen in himself is very renowned. If you go to, and we'll talk about this here in a little bit, or even right now, if you go to Cabela's or a Bass Pro Shop and you look at some of the art on the walls and for sale, or even Cal Ranch here, you're going to see their names. These guys have been doing it for a while, and they're good at it, and they're recognized by some big publishers and some big names. So I got to brag a little bit more on you, Dallen. So
well, thank you for that. Better you than me. Don't want this to get awkward.
You're too nice of a guy not to brag, so I've got to brag it, So.
Well, thank you kindly, and yes, very blessed to be able to work with and alongside some folks that have good connections, and they've been able to get us some great exposure for sure. And I had a great teacher and mentor in my dad,
sure.
Because he's so good at what he does and was so very patient with me. I talked about that time that I spent with him in the studio. And in addition to watching what he was doing, I'd do my own little doodles. I'll be drawing something on a sheet of paper, and I'd take that to him and ask him to, in my own 6 or 7-year-old way, ask him to give me a critique. And I loved his attitude. I loved his approach to that, because he would look at it and say, well, Dallen, here are some things you've done really well. He'd point out here and there, this is anatomically, you got this good. He said, here's some things that I would do a little different. I'd do this, maybe adjust that. And to this day, if there's something I'm struggling with or a piece that's kicking my hiney, I'll have him take a look at it and get his feedback. And getting a fresh set of eyes, especially from somebody who's that gifted in that realm, in the realm of art, that's almost invaluable.
For
that's
sure.
A real blessing. I'm really fortunate to have that.
I like that. And I didn't know of you, because I'm not the kind of guy that was seeking after art 5 years ago. I'll be honest with you. But I did marry an artist, not to the caliber of you, but she's very talented.
She is very talented. I'll vouch for that. She's very gifted.
And she actually is going to be teaching at BYU Idaho here soon.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's a watercolor class up there. They just call her out of the blue. So, but that's a different story altogether. We'll talk about that more offline.
Well, I'll just pipe in and say good for her. I think that's
awesome.
Fantastic. That is awesome.
Yeah, she's great. She's excited about it. So, but 4 or 5 years ago, I was in Kalispell, Montana, just out of the blue, because I had to get an ankle surgery, and the insurance I had was paid for me to fly up to Kalispell. And before the surgery, my wife's like, hey, let's go walk Kalispell. We've never been here. And we found ourselves in an art gallery. And we're looking at these paintings, the wildlife and the saltwater paintings. And I'm like thinking, and I'm talking to Callie, I'm like, these are super impressive. These are awesome. And the proprietor of the gallery comes over and starts talking to us and making chit chat. And he asks us where we're from. He said, Pocatello, Idaho. And he said, oh, that's where this artist is from. I'm like, you kidding me?
Oh.
So that was my first experience with Dallen Lambson, and I was thinking, holy cow, like this guy is in Pocatello. And so those that are listening, like this guy's a big deal. You got to look him up. You got to see what he's doing. So.
Well, I'm jealous that you got to spend some quality time in Kalispell.
Oh, I love that place.
Everybody should pass through there at least once. What a beautiful neck of the woods.
Oh, for sure. Keep telling Callie I want to move there one of these days. So.
Yeah, I tell folks that Montana is my plan B.
It's true.
If this Idaho thing doesn't work out.
I like it. Okay, well, let's move on a little bit more here. Tell us, what are the common myths? I know some general people think, okay, artists, but what are some of the common myths in your industry?
That's a toughie.
Okay.
Because it's kind of hard. I've always been in the industry. I've always been an artist. I've always been on the inside. And so trying to see that perspective on the outside looking in and what the perceptions or misperceptions are, I don't know how best to answer that. Obviously we don't all have big hair.
Bob Ross.
We can dispel that myth.
The happy trees.
Dispel that myth post haste. I think, and this is me just kind of flying off the cuff here a little bit, but perhaps one of the myths is that if you want to make a living as an artist, you've got to be able to draw and paint pictures. And granted, there is something to be said for the fact that you need to be good at what you do as an artist. But by that, what I mean is there are a lot of ways that people make a living in the world of art. There's the gallery scene, as you and I were just talking about. But every once in a while, I get a chance to speak to youth groups about art. And when you look around you have to kind of consider that just about everything that you see around you that's been constructed, an artist probably visualized it and drew it up before it ever became what you're looking at.
That's very true.
You look at all of the labels on the products that you see as you walk down the grocery aisle. Artists created those labels.
That's true.
The clothes that you and I wear, artists designed those clothes before anybody took a piece of fabric gosh, and on and on. There's really art in just about everything around us. And I look at these video games anymore and how real they're becoming visually. Artists are out there making that happen. Yeah. Obviously artists who handle a computer a little better than this artist does, but still artists. I got a brother who he doesn't do it as an occupation, but he's a very gifted artist. He does more kind of the animation and caricatures and whatnot. Sure. Every once in a while I'll post one of his pieces on social media, and people eat that up, the kind of creative juices he has to produce the kind of whimsical, fun things that he does.
That's great.
So I guess maybe, at least from my perspective, that may be one of those things that people, when they look at art, they do so with kind of a narrow focus of what art is. When I feel like the reality of it is art is an awfully broad field.
Very true. Very true. And then the phrase when you say you're an artist, people always think, starving artists. But I think there's a way, maybe we'll talk about that, but I think there's some people that maybe just don't maybe know how to monetize their gift, maybe in a way like that. And correct me if I'm wrong, but like you said, there's so many different realms of art that people can get into and to do. But if they really want to make a profession in this, how do they get to that point? So they're not one of those starving artists.
Yeah, and that's the $1 million question, right? How do I take something that I do that I feel like I'm fairly good at here and I'm relatively passionate about? How do I take that and convert it into dollars and cents? And that could be kind of a long and involved conversation, sure. Quite frankly. I know artists out there who are probably is every bit as good as I am, but excuse me, but aren't necessarily making it as an artist, either because it's not something they have chosen to pursue as an occupation. It's something that they enjoy doing and are good at, but it's not what they've decided to pursue as far as making a living. There are other artists who are not maybe this is going to sound harsh, but from an artistic perspective, are not all that good as artists.
Sure.
But holy cow, are they good at promoting themselves
Mm.
and promoting their work and telling a story and drawing people in. There are people out there who I think who've really managed to capitalize on some of the marketing tools and products and services available out there online, particularly through social media. I think there are artists out there who have just kind of found a niche in there and are really good about utilizing those kinds of tools that are so prevalent in the world we live in right now, and have managed to make good money on art that's not necessarily amazing art.
Yeah.
Other artists, I think, who have done well have just managed to come up with doing something unique. And maybe you or some of your viewers / listeners have seen, for example, this pyro kind of technique of sprinkling what I think is gunpowder on a piece of wood, and forming some kind of an image with that gunpowder, and then firing it up. And I mean, I don't know that I ever saw what the image actually looked like after it got fired up. But as I'm scrolling through my Instagram and I see somebody about to light some gunpowder, man, that's going to get my attention. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Some artist out there figured out kind of a smart way of attracting people to kind of a unique thing that they do to produce art.
Sure.
And maybe that art doesn't look all that good, but it's new. It's something different, and it's kind of flashy, literally and metaphorically.
Very true.
And it's getting somebody's attention out there, and whoever that person is or people are, they're probably selling some of that art. They're probably capitalizing on a little something they found that was out of the ordinary, kind of different, caught somebody's attention.
Yep, it stands out.
Yeah, exactly. And so there are artists that are making it because they're really good. There are artists out there that are making it because they're really good at promoting themselves. Artists out there that are making it because they're producing something that people haven't really seen before. It's just so different and fresh. And we love different and fresh as human beings.
Everyone with everyone demanding for your attention all the time, everyone's looking for something, like you said, new and fresh.
Yeah.
So I like that because with any business really, you have to stand out. You have to be able to monetize your services, your skills in a way that you can make some money and support your family and hopefully squirrel some away for maybe a rainy day or two.
Amen.
So now let's you've got your artist hat on, and you're also a business owner as well as you're owning this what you do as an artist. And how do you explain a little bit to me how you take off the hats and say, okay, it's time to really focus in and maybe, like you said, and throw some promotions out here and maybe or maybe you don't have to do that now because you're so well known, but maybe talk to us a little bit about your artist hat and your business hat.
So that's the tightrope. That's the tricky part of not only being the person responsible for generating the product that you create, but also the person responsible for every facet of the business involved with getting that product out to people that want it. And so that is, for me, that is a challenge. I have to set aside a certain amount of time each day towards the business part of it. And then hopefully once I've got that done, there's time left in the day to sit down and paint something. And I'm going to digress here just for a moment, derail things just long enough to say my best days, my favorite days are the days that I just get to paint. Days that I just get to work on, working on an illustration or a drawing. But those days when I'm in my element as an artist, I'm definitely a much better artist at the end of the day than I am a businessman.
We all have our strengths, and we.
Well, and us artists are notoriously that way, quite frankly. We talk about that left side of the brain and the right side of the brain, and I forget which one does which. But generally speaking, we've got one side that's more predominant than the other, and us artists, we're known for our creative juices, not super known for our prowess as business people.
Well, that's good. At least one part of your brain's working. Most of the time, mine's like a flash of light in the back somewhere kicks on, enough for me to actually do something productive with my day.
So 1 out of 2 ain't bad. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
For me, a lot of that is time management, Spencer. I'll get up, generally speaking, I'll get up pretty darn early in the morning. And because the lifestyle that I've chosen is a pretty sedentary one, is that the right word?
Yeah.
A guy that sits on his bum all day long.
Well, you kind of have to be able to do your art, Can't be on a treadmill with that.
So I get up early enough so I can go to the gym, get the juices flowing, work the kinks out of the system. Come back home, and I try to hit the ground running. I'll spend the first several hours of my day on the computer taking care of business stuff, responding to emails, responding to what's going on with my social media accounts, and then trying to spit something out there, trying to get each day I try to get at least an image on those various accounts out there, just so people know I'm still alive. And as people are scrolling through, hopefully they're getting kind of a steady diet, hopefully not an overwhelming diet, but a steady diet each day of seeing a peace of mind. So that when it's time for them to buy a birthday gift for grandpa, or Christmas is coming up, or Father's Day is coming up, hopefully I'm in there somewhere.
Top of mind awareness.
Yeah. At least in theory, that's my hope, and that's what I try and do. And so that for me, I'm not a marketing guru. I'm not a marketing genius. I'm not a brilliant businessman. I'm an artist. I draw and paint pictures, but at the end of the day, I have to embrace reality. And the reality of it is that it is a business.
Sure.
And so I try to dedicate that first chunk of my day towards the business aspect of things. And then after that, I get to put on that painter's hat.
There you go.
And start painting something.
Do you ever outsource any of the tasks that you do during the day that you just don't like to do, but you have to do? Do you outsource that to any person or business?
I keep fantasizing about doing that. I've got a whole herd of kids here. You'd think that a guy ought to be able to capitalize on that a little bit.
Yeah, but at the same time, you need, bookkeepers or that kind of thing. I don't know if I'd want to trust my kids my books yet.
Good point. It's almost like my kids or something, Spencer.
Oh, I know my kids, and I just.
So no, I have not. For now, I'm just a one-man act. I do it all. Periodically, I do consider, I'm somebody who likes to weigh out opportunity cost of things.
Sure. So do I.
Would I come out ahead financially at the end of the day? If you're a business, it's bottom line financially at the end of the day, would I be better off to find somebody else that can do this part of things? And while I focus on the things that I know I'm good at and should probably be spending more time doing. And frankly, I haven't gotten beyond that thinking about it process. Yep. I haven't gotten to the point where I'm like, yep, let's do it. Let's make that transition. Let's get somebody else on board, and just haven't made that happen. Haven't made that leap. And so I continue to run around like a chicken with my head cut off, trying to do it all.
That's funny, because I hear that. One guy I really respect, and who's a friend of mine that's in business, and I kind of use as a consultant. He says, you're either working on your business or in your business. He's like, I'd rather have you working on your business than in your business. Meaning, but yours is a little different, being because you're in the business would be actually the bookkeeping, all that kind of stuff that keeps you busy, not focusing on the business of actually doing the things that makes you money, the creative side that you enjoy doing and you're very good at, So what I've done, and I recorded this in a previous episode that'll be releasing here soon, but when this comes out, it'll be past that. There's a source online that I go to. It's called Upwork.com, and you can hire anyone as a virtual assistant. And they have all these different capabilities out there, all different pay scales out there. And you can hire someone for 5 hours a week, and they just do certain things that you need to do. And I hire for certain tasks, and I get them out. And we have one gal that lives in LA, and she schedules 40 of our employees every day, and she has all the information. So that helps me free up my day to actually come up with marketing ideas and stuff like that, and take care of my customers instead of sitting down and scheduling people all day long. So
yeah.
That's what I'm kind of getting at. And so yeah, it's super helpful. So.
Well, an analogy that I think of a lot, and I think it was Stephen R. Covey. Am I saying his name right? The 7 Habits guy.
Yep.
I think it was him that was talking about the analogy of the guy out there sawing down trees because he's a lumberjack, and his saw is getting dull, and it's taking him longer and longer and longer to saw down these trees. And of course, you and I would say, well, the intelligent thing to do is stop what you're doing long enough to sharpen your dang saw. He's like, well, I don't have time to sharpen my saw. Can't you see I got trees to cut down? And it's taken me longer now than ever. I don't have time to sharpen my saw. And some days I wonder if I find myself in that boat. And so there may be some evolving down the road here. We'll see.
Well, that's good. It took me years to get to that point. Now, yeah, there's certain things I'm like, all right, I can't do that, or I don't want to do that, or I'm not good at that. So you take care of that. So it's been nice.
Yeah, understood.
And I'm not paying them a whole lot, but I'm just paying, just a few hours a week for them to do that off site, and it's been beautiful. So, but yeah.
Well, and this business is your baby.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's kind of hard to take some aspects of this thing that you've toiled and labored for, your blood, sweat, and tears, and turn that over to somebody else.
Yeah.
That doesn't think it's as sacred as you do.
That's why you give the things that aren't as sacred to them more of the monotonous stuff you don't care for.
That sounds right to me.
Awesome. Well, I got to take a quick break, and then we're going to move into our lightning round, and then we're going to come to the end. But Pocatello Business Podcast is sponsored by Dell's Outdoor Advertising. Been locally owned and operated for 60 years now. And if you're looking for a billboard in Pocatello, these are your guys to see. They said 71% of commuters remember messages they read on billboards, and 32% make a buying decision within 1 week based on those messages. So if you want to contact them, call Rob. He'll take care of you. Tell him that you heard it on Pocatello Business Podcast. Call 208-232-6886. Again, 208-232-6886. Ask for Rob. Okay, Dallen, we're going to finish up with 2 last questions with you.
All right.
So number 1, what is your favorite local restaurant within Pocatello?
I don't know. I've been married for 10 years now. And so it's been about 10 years since I've got to even choose the restaurant that I'm going to be eating at.
I hear you.
So the go-to for me, the one that sometimes you like to do something for the sake of variety, so you like to bounce around a little bit. But if I want to go with the old standby, it's probably Texas Roadhouse.
There you go.
Hard to go wrong with Texas Roadhouse.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Okay. What is your favorite local business just to give your money to, just to spend some money and some time there?
So admittedly, I have not, for the sake of full disclosure, I haven't spent a lot of money in this particular business, but the more I'm learning about them, the more impressed I am with them. Just having gotten to know some of the people who are at the helm of this business and working behind the scenes, just top-notch people, and their product appears to be a top-notch product. The feedback that I have gotten is really good. But Energy here in town.
Okay.
And I don't know how many people are aware that company even exists here in Pocatello, but they do. It's Energy. They create solar-powered products. And I think specifically, the one I think that they're most well known for is their solar-powered, what do you call them? Generators.
Generator, yep.
Yeah, solar-powered generators. Anyway, I don't currently own a solar-powered generator, but the crazier things get in the world, the more I'm like, maybe a guy ought to have a couple of solar-powered generators.
Seriously. I like it. That's the first time that company's been mentioned. You'll have to talk to them, get them on the podcast. Love to talk to them.
I think they'd be good ones. I think they'd be good candidates for you.
All right. We'll make that happen. Okay. Well, Dallen, we appreciate you being on the show. You're the first artist, and you're one of the most famous people I've had on the show. I'm privileged to have you on.
Sorry to hear that, Spencer. Hey, thanks for having me. This has been fun. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been fun. So now if the people out there, they're thinking, okay, they've heard Cabela's, they've heard this guy's in Cal Ranch, they've heard he's in Bass Pro Shop, just to name a few. Your work's out there so much. How do they get a hold of you if they want to buy some art or look at some art? How do they do it?
So I do have an online presence, obviously, www.dallenlambsonart.com.
Okay.
That's me. If you look up Dallen Lambson or Dallen Lambson Wildlife Art on Facebook, I think you'll find me there as well. Would love to meet some more folks and have some more Facebook friends. But if you do that, and if you come across something there that you would like, you can contact me directly, either via one of those social media sites, or even if you go to the website, there's the option there to send me a message. And you can do that. And if you mention this podcast, it'd be my pleasure to give you a 10% discount on anything that you find there. So yeah, I'm pretty easy to track down, I think. I hope.
Like it. Okay, guys, you heard it. You know where to find them. You mentioned the Pocatello Business Podcast. It sweetens the deal a little bit for you. So come find Dallen Lambson. He's a talented artist. We're lucky to have him here inside Pocatello. And Dallen, we'll definitely have to have you on the show again here later on. But appreciate you having on the show.
I could live with that, Spencer. Thank you again for having me. Always a pleasure.
I appreciate it. Okay, guys, until next time, thanks again for joining us for the Pocatello Business Podcast. Adios.
Congratulations on spending a couple minutes getting just a little bit smarter, having some fun, and supporting the Pocatello business community. If you are feeling the love, make sure to subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you are.